Welcome to the Leadership Art Podcast. I'm your host, Art Robbins, and it's great to have you join us. The Leadership Art Podcast showcases everyday leadership in action. Here you will discover practical insights, powerful lessons, and everyday inspiration to elevate your own impact, whether you're leading now or preparing to step up. We want to inspire you to be the best leader you can be. And today's guest is truly special, Camila Casale. Camila, joining us from Miami, is an accomplished and recognized CMO, visionary leader, and strategist with over 20 years of experience driving transformative growth for both technology and professional services companies across both domestic and international markets. She is recognized as one of the most influential Latina leaders in business, having established a proven track record of delivering impactful brand growth, market expansion, and customer engagement using innovative marketing strategies. She served as a former CMO for Global 1000 companies such as Claro, Telvista, and Sorensen, and currently she runs her own strategic marketing agency, Fractional CMO Advisory. She's a dynamic thought leader and an active speaker on topics such as diversity in tech, digital marketing strategies, and effective remote team management. All this has led to her earning honors as a top Latino leader, 100 Most Powerful Latinas, and recipient of the 2023 Hermes Gold and Silver Stevie Awards. Well, Camila, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Art. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And what an intro. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you've accomplished a lot, and that's why I'm so glad you're joining here, because I think you have a lot of inspirational stories to tell us about your own leadership journey. And I've had the good fortune of see you grow personally as a leader to fill very influential and impactful roles, and not just in the companies you worked for, but also impacting the clients you served and the communities you lived in. And what I find interesting about leadership is a lot of times people are so focused just on their job and their internal companies, and they don't look outside to broaden their impact. And yet you've done this very successfully throughout your career. And I think our audience would like to know, well, what is your leadership philosophy that has created this broader focus and enabled you to uplift so many different constituents?
So for me, leadership, it's about lifting others while driving meaningful impact. It's the ability to create a clear vision, bring people together around it, and help them see their role in something bigger. I've led teams across 3 continents, sometimes in hypergrowth, some other times in crisis. And what stay constant is the need to lead with empathy, clarity, and conviction. For example, at Sonson, I led a team of over 60 people and help integrate acquired companies without losing our cultural momentum. That taught me that leadership isn't about control, it's about trust, it's about listening, and it's about giving people the space and direction to thrive. And when you do that well, the results follow.
No, those are some great lessons there. And I'm curious because you've had roles in many different companies and also different geographies, right? Because you started your leadership journey in Argentina, in Buenos
Right.
Aires. You went to
Uh-huh.
Europe. And I remember when you came to the States and you started the Frost practice in Miami. So when you're brand new to an area, how do you start to make that impact and get recognized that you are someone who is empathetic and trustworthy and so forth?
Build a network. Build a network. Surround yourself by the right mentors, right sponsors. But I think that when you're able to build a network, that's a foundation and that's all you need.
What are some tips you would have for someone? Because one of the things we want to focus here is everyday leadership, things people could start to do to improve their impact. So if someone's looking to build or improve their network, what could they start to do tomorrow to make that happen?
Sure, I can share my leadership principles, if you will, because honestly, I don't have a step-by-step guide. I wish, but
Absolutely. No problem. I'd love to hear your experiences because I
and
think that's what it's all about. It's not so much a methodology that, oh, if you follow these 7 steps, everything's going to come out perfectly. But what are some experiences or observations you've had that said, oh, this works? I need to do this differently.
yeah, because honestly, I don't think there's a secret sauce, right, to become like a great leader. I truly believe that we are born leaders. That's my belief. You can develop skills, you can develop some other things, but I think that true leaders were born leaders, if you ask me. So the leadership principles that guide me most today is, as you said at the very beginning, to lead with purpose, to elevate others. I've learned that real impact doesn't come from doing everything yourself. It comes from creating clarity, building trust, and empowering people to step into their potential. Whether I'm leading a high performing global team or navigating complex change, I always come back to inclusion, accountability, ambition, right? Since the very beginning, I'll run potential ideas and strategy with my team and ask for their buy-in. Because if I don't have my team on board since day one, I think it's very hard later on if they don't feel included to
Mhm.
follow. If people feel seen, valued, and connected to something bigger than themselves, they will deliver and they will deliver far beyond expectations. That's how you drive results and leave a lasting mark. Something that I've been asked a lot of times is that, what's your purpose, right, as a leader? And especially after becoming a mom, I have 2 little kids, Elena and Donato. Wherever I go, I want to leave a mark. I want people when I'm not longer there to say, oh my gosh, it was great working with Camila. And that's what guides me today or inspires me today to leave a mark wherever I go.
Those are great themes, and it's consistent with some recurring messages we're hearing across many of these episodes. The value of leading with purpose, recognizing that it's not just about you, it's about the people. These seem to be some of the driving tenets of many of the successful leaders that we've talked to. And, when we were talking about leadership the other day, I remember you talked about the concept that good leaders have to be vulnerable. And I thought this was fascinating because, at one level, I think that's counterintuitive to a lot of people. You look at what's being fueled by the media, that the leaders have to come across as strong and invincible and confident and unapologetic. And being vulnerable is almost the polar opposite of that. So I'm wondering if you could expand on that thought. Why is vulnerability so important for a successful leader?
Because we're all humans, we're all human beings, right? And we're all vulnerable, one way or the other. So that's the why, right? So maybe I can share one of those wow moments as a leader. And that didn't happen long ago. I've been leading teams for the past 20 years. And truly, the time that I felt the most vulnerable was like 2 years ago. And this was during my time actually serving as a global CMO for Sorenson. Sorenson is a private equity backed company where I got to lead the most diverse and amazing complex team that I've ever managed across continent, cultures, and high stakes expectations. Sorenson is a global language service provider. The tagline that we came up with during my time there is that we want to connect beyond words, right? So Sorenson serves or develops communications for the deaf and hard of hearing and also multi-language services. Back then, the company was growing by acquisitions and also preparing for a potential exit and driving aggressive growth targets. So balancing the intensity of a P-driven environment with the demands of motherhood pushed me to reevaluate what leadership really meant to me, not just professionally, but personally. We achieved incredible results. We did a global rebrand, record growth, and a unified team. When I came on board the company, they had 2 big teams. So my very first job when I came in was to just build one single, very high performing and powerful team. But in the end, I made the conscious decision to step down from the role to be more present with my two young children. Actually got pregnant with Elena, my second child, when I was like 6 months after I joined Sorenson. And honestly, I still remember when I had to communicate that to my team. And honestly, it took me almost a year to be able to make that hard decision. But it was one of the hardest and clearest leadership calls that I've ever made. Because leadership isn't just about delivering outcomes, it's also about knowing when to pause, to reset, and
Mhm.
lead in different way. So I think that was a very interesting moment in my leadership journey for me, Art, having to make that call because honestly, I do love leading teams. It's something that I love. I love to lead people. I love to work with people. I love to see my team making an impact out there. It's something that makes me extremely proud. But also now it's time for me to spend more time with my little kids because they need me. Elena is 20 months and Donato is 5 years old. So it was a leadership call that I had to make as a mom as well. Oh, yeah.
You knew your priorities. I imagine you also gained a lot of respect from your team that you had those priorities, especially in a PE environment. Some of these PE firms, maybe not just some, but the large majority, are relentless and they want the management team to sacrifice everything to
Yeah.
hit the
Not only
PE targets.
it was my team, it was my peers, clients, vendors that I was working from. You know me, Art, I'm very transparent. So it was a pretty cool moment, to be honest with you.
I mean, when you look back, did that give you an extra level of confidence and reaffirmation that I do have the right principles and priorities and my life is well balanced?
Of course, because like true leaders, they lead by example. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do, right? So, yes, 100%.
Yeah. One of the elements of your leadership, we talked about you being a leader in the community. And I know you've done some great things with women executives, with the Hispanic business community, and established yourself as one of the drivers. You've been recognized with awards. I think there's a synergy there that your personal impact has elevated those constituents.
Honestly, I think this ties back to my leadership principles, right? For example, over 10 years ago, I founded the Women in Tech Miami Council because back then I saw the need of creating safe space for Latinas, especially at the very high top, like SVPs, VPs, or even Latinas that made it to the big table sitting on the C suite. Truly, we didn't have a safe space to seek for advice or even being vulnerable and say, hey, I'm going through this situation. Do you have any tips? Or even for Latinas to feel heard by others. I think that honestly, if you ask me, I did it unconscious, if you will, just with the idea of elevating others and leading with purpose.
It's not easy to start something like that from scratch. A lot of people might recognize the need, but they'll live with the status quo. They won't take the steps to change it. And you did. Who have been some of your key role models that have influenced you?
My two most important role models are my parents, my mom and my dad. They both live in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. My dad is a former physician, a former surgeon. If you ask me, to me, my dad, when I see my dad today, he's 85. I see a hardworking person. He had to resign to a lot of things to be able to pursue his career. But without my mom, it wouldn't have been possible for him to have a family and to be successful at what he did. So to me, that's the perfect situation when you ask me for role models because I have them, right? My mom is a former teacher and my dad is a former surgeon. So those are my role models. When I see them, I see people that you can trust, people that are loyal, hard workers, with good principles, family oriented. For me, they check all the boxes. And when I say I'm here today, it's because of them. The only daughter, I have three siblings, three brothers, and I remember this even today, Art, when I was 23 years old, that Frost and Sullivan offered me to relocate to Europe. I went to my parents and said, hey, what should I do? Should I like move myself to Europe? And my mom said, of course, you have to do it. Everything is going to be okay. And to have my parents pushing me out of my comfort zone, giving me the confidence that I needed to take on that challenge was amazing. I don't know if I will be here today. So those are my two role models. And of course, I've been very fortunate throughout my career to have mentors, to have sponsors who help me navigate this complex journey because it's not an easy one. But good mentors, good sponsors, you most likely will overcome any obstacles out there.
Yeah, one of the lessons we're picking up as we talk to more people is that the successful leaders did have the courage and the confidence to do the hard jobs or the jobs that other people didn't want to do. Maybe there was a risk, maybe there was uncertainty, but these jobs were ultimately strategic jobs. And someone very skilled and capable needed to do it. The leaders who stepped up and got the results, got the impact, also ultimately got the rewards and the personal growth that came along with it.
Indeed, indeed. And you asked, I think at the very beginning, Art, what's the different or what separates a good leader from a great one, right? And I've been fortunate enough throughout my career, honestly, to work for great ones. Not every single position that I held, but most of the CEOs that I had the fortunate to report to, they are like amazing, amazing leaders. And I believe I was lucky because you don't see great leaders out there quite often. And for me, a good leader, there are plenty of good leaders out there. They just drive results. That's what they do, right? They're giving with like a goal and objective and they drive results. And you're a good leader if you do that. But being a great leader is a complete different thing. To me, a great leader drives results, but also builds people along the way. And you don't see a lot of people doing that. They might say they do it, but honestly, in practice, they don't. They're just driving their own personal agenda. And the real difference lies in emotional intelligence, in consistency, and the ability to inspire others to operate at their best, especially in moments of uncertainty, maybe in moments like today, right? And that's a very hard job to do, right? You know, it might sound great in words, but while you're keeping the lights on of a company, of a business, doing all of this at the same time isn't easy. And most of these leaders, they don't do it intentionally. They do it because it's part of their leadership style, right? So great leaders don't just make decisions. They create clarity, trust, and alignment. They listen, they adapt and lead with purpose, going back to the opening of this podcast. That's why I love this podcast series that you're doing, Art. And long after the metrics fade, it's the culture, it's the confidence and the growth they spark in others that truly endures. It's a lot of work.
A lot to do. And I love the way you've summarized it too, with the purpose driven seeing and needing the emotional intelligence. I mean, I totally agree with you that emotional intelligence is a key ingredient, and they don't teach that in school. They don't even teach
No.
that well in management training. And I'd be interested in your thoughts. Like, there are a lot of people out there who are already in leadership positions or aspiring leaders, and let's say they have a good sense of self awareness. They know, hey, I'm good at this, I'm not good at that. And I want to be better at this emotional intelligence thing. I want to do that, but I don't really know how. And maybe they haven't had the good fortune of working for the great CEOs, but in their heart, they want to be able to do it. What can they start to do differently?
I'll tell them that leadership isn't a title, right? I don't think that you're given with the title, you're a leader, right? It's a mindset.
Mhm.
You don't have to be the loudest in the room or have a C level role to be a leader. Some of the most powerful leadership I've seen comes from people who lead quietly. Like, you know, most of the times, those are the ones that stay quiet in the room. They're not like the loud ones, but with empathy, with action, and with consistency. Going back to emotional intelligence, that's a hard one to work on. I'll be honest with you, Art. It took me a solid 10 years to be able to master that one. And it's just being aware if that's something that you believe you have to improve, just take action, right? Say, hey, this is something that I need to work on. This is something that I really need to improve. Because honestly, if your goal is to become like a great leader, you need to know how to manage emotional intelligence. That's the foundation of everything, I would say. And that's one of those skills that is very hard to learn and to master. Take a lot of self awareness.
Yeah, I think self-awareness is the key. And I think you also said earlier that great leaders are also great at listening and observing. And, if you have the good fortune to work for a great leader, have the skills to recognize that and recognize, well, what are they doing? If you have the skills to work for a not so great leader, well, what are the things they're doing that need to be improved? And you yourself can start to improve that in your own sphere of influence. It's a process, it's a learning process.
Of course, those 360 reviews or like being open to feedback. Not a lot of people are open to get feedback or to receive feedback that they don't want to hear, right?
Yeah.
And
And
you know,
that ties to the
over
vulnerability, right?
vulnerable and willing to listen something that most likely you won't like, but then that will help you to improve, as a leader or becoming the leader that you want to become. It's something that needs to happen. Needs to happen.
Can anyone be a leader? Like, what do you say to someone that doesn't view themselves as a leadership type?
I'm going to be very transparent here, right? I think the key here is to stop trying to fit into someone else's version of the leadership and start owning your own, right? Be true to yourself. That's what I
Mhm.
would say. And if you don't see yourself as a leader today, just work on becoming that good leader that you want to be. Leave a mark, inspire others, listen, have empathy, elevate others, live with purpose. Whatever you do it with a purpose, not just to hit the numbers or to get a promotion. Just do it with your heart. And more than once, I had career coach throughout my career, all the things that, we the C levels have to do. And more than once, I've been questioned, hey, why do you lead with your heart? Because that's me. I'm not going to change it. I love to lead with my heart. I'm
And
not,
it works. That's how people connect with you.
I am being true to myself, right? I'm not going to change it. I'm a mom, I'm a friend, right? So besides sitting at the C-suite, I have an empathy, right? During my time, especially at Sorenson, leading this amazing, diverse team that I got the honor to lead, I had single moms, I had single dads, especially during COVID times, because this is not about women or men. This is about co-parenting, right? All the demands of these super high level roles while having to take care of kids, or even some people had parents that they had to take care of. It wasn't easy. But if you don't have the empathy to allow people to be humans while they do their work, it's impossible, right? When people feel heard, they feel seen, and they feel that they're working with a person that has that empathy to respect that they have a personal life that is not all about work. I think that way people can truly thrive, right? Because otherwise, separating your job from your personal life, it's impossible. It's the way I see it.
Cami, those are great lessons. I think the overriding theme of being true to yourself, that is a great takeaway for everyone to start to do better tomorrow, whether they're a leader or not.
Yeah. And one last thing, Art, and this is something that it took me a long time and I'm still working on it today. Listen with intention, right? Like most of the times we're just there sitting or on the screen, like pretending that we're listening.
Right.
We don't. We're so busy. There's a lot going on, right? We don't listen with intention. We don't just spend time truly listening to the other person. And that can make a huge difference.
Your team's evaluating you on the actions, right? If they express a concern or a need and you deliver something that's responsive, now you've created that connection. If you go on as a status quo, totally different.
Indeed. Yep.
That's fantastic. We are running out of time. There's so many great takeaways from this. And I'm sure our audience has been inspired by what you say and they'd like to continue to listen and follow you. How can the audience follow your work going forward?
Well, I'm everywhere. So you just Google my
That's true. With many, many followers, by the way.
very active on social media. You can also visit my website. But yeah, you just Google my name and you can find me honestly in every single channel out there.
So
Make sure
that's
you
great.
find it by Camila. That's it.
It's worth it, Camilla. I really appreciate you joining us today. You have shared so many insights and lessons. And I think on that, that's a great note to close out this episode. So, Camilla, thank you so much again. I know that you've inspired our audience. And most of all, I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And until the next Leadership Art Podcast episode, this is your host, Art Robbins. And remember, it's your lead.